Invocation Shastra Vicharanai Kanipuno Saddharma Samstapako Lokanamitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. In the translation, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. So now Shri Rupa Goswami Pranam Mantra. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami, who was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So you can say it with me, the invocation for the scriptures. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are continuing with text number 3 today. In relation to now discussing these 6 items that are favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. So we may read the verse together, text number 3. Utsahan Nishchayad Daryat Tat Karma Pravatanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrite Sadbir Bhakti Prasidyati. In the translation by Srila Prabhupada, there are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1. Being enthusiastic. 2. Endeavoring with confidence. 3. Being patient. 4. Acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5. Abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These six principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Now, there are several short paragraphs, and I'm moving on to paragraph number 5 in the purport. It's a short paragraph there too. And it begins with the words, one should accept this opportunity. Have you found it, everyone, in your textbook? And I'm reading this paragraph. One should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishnartha Kila Chesta from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we will continue with beginning for text number 3 today to discuss the 6 items that are favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. So in this aspect, Krishna Premapadayaka can put on slide number 42. I have summarized things for you so it's easy to follow. Yes, utsahan means being enthusiastic. So I have extracted from the purport in relation specifically to this being enthusiastic. Number 1, enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishnartha Akila Chesta. This is in the paragraph I just read. Then Srila Prabhupada says in paragraph 7, number 2, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Uchyate. And then in paragraph 9, Srila Prabhupada have us understand that enthusiasm comes from chanting japa and following the 4 regulative principles. You can put me back onto the screen. Without enthusiasm, no one can be successful, either materially or even spiritually, without enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is always there. We could give a few examples. Somebody may be very enthusiastic to sleep, oversleep. It's part of enthusiasm. Somebody may be just enthusiastic to just overeat. See? So materially or spiritually, enthusiasm is always there, and therefore one is successful in that activity, either materially or spiritually. So one time, one disciple, he approached Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I am not so enthusiastic to continue in Krishna consciousness. In other words, he was having difficulty with his mind and senses, and he wanted to leave to go back to the material activities of breaking one or more of the four regulative principles. So Srila Prabhupada, dealt differently with different devotees, but this particular devotee, Srila Prabhupada just looked at him squarely in his eyes, in his face, and he took his fist, and he sort of hit it hard on the table, and he said, "Just be enthusiastic." So the disciple was quite amazed, shocked by this. And he was dumbfounded. In other words, he just couldn't move or even speak. So Srila Prabhupada asked him then in a more affectionate way, are you enthusiastic now? And the disciple said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Srila Prabhupada. And he practically went, backward movement towards the door, and he left the door. And up to this day, that disciple never left Krishna consciousness. So sometimes, senior devotees or advanced devotees, they may need to jolt one, just be enthusiastic. In other words, it has potency to actually, like Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bola, like, just wake them up from this sleeping state of trying to go back to Maya. Just be enthusiastic and continue to follow that. Then in paragraph 6 and 7, which I also saw on the slide as the third one, Srila Prabhupada speaks about Yukta Vairagya. And in this particular situation in relation to enthusiasm, of course, under the guidance of the spiritual master and Shiksha Gurus in instructing spiritual masters, one can use all sources of the material world in Krishna's service. All sources and resources in Krishna's service. This is called Yukta Vairagya. And the philosophy is that nothing is actually separate from Krishna. Nothing is separate from Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example in the purport there itself, that, that how he uses the dictaphone, to translate the books. The dictaphone is like a material, technology. But Srila Prabhupada said, we can use it in relationship to Krishna because nothing is separate from Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchyate. So Srila Prabhupada would sometimes also say that there's really no difference between the material and the spiritual. It is just the state of consciousness of how we relate to it. That is all. So whatever is used to gratify or give pleasure to Krishna's senses is completely spiritual. But the same thing, if it is misused in the material world to gratify our own senses, it is materialistic. But in the ultimate or absolute sense, everything is spiritual because everything is, in a sense, as an expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Spirit. In the material world, Krishna speaks about so many things in chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute in the Bhagavad Gita. And then just to give you two examples is that, rasoam apso konteya, and that I am the tasting water. And sasi suraya, that means I am the heat and light of the sun. Yeah? So therefore, when we come to Krishna consciousness, in our enthusiasm, whatever we may possess, or whatever we are responsible for, it could be one's business, it could be one's family members, and whatever talents we may have, and whatever, you could say, influence we have, whatever power we may have, or whatever position we may be in. We can use all these things, influence, power, position, wealth, attachment for family members, in relationship to Krishna-related activities. That is Yukta Vairagya. And that, we don't need to lack any enthusiasm in that. Because enthusiastically, because we're already attached, and because one is attached to one's family members or to one's influence or position of power, then it's very easy to dovetail it enthusiastically in Krishna's related services. Very easy to do. So therefore, that which we were enthusiastically, dovetailing in materialistic activities, that same enthusiasm, although there may be attachment for them, can be dovetailed in relationship to Krishna. All right, we had several queries, in regard to enthusiasm, from devotees also in the previous sessions. So if you want to ask questions about that now, you're welcome to do so. Which is the first feature of one of the 6 principles to be favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. Utsaha, enthusiasm. Any questions? Comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj,
Yes.
is it okay that a devotee have messaged a question from the previous class, which was yesterday's class?
That's all right. We can take that now.
Okay, so this Mataji name is Sundari Radharani Mataji, so she couldn't on audio, so she asked me to read on her behalf. So her question is, what is the difference if a person remember the 9 activities of devotional service during their near death, comparing with a devotee who had been practicing the 9 activities of devotional service?
It's fairly simple that when one practices the different processes of devotional service like Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam, and so forth, and that practice will help one to remember. Remembrance of engagement in devotional service comes from actually engaging in devotional service before that. See? So if one chants the holy name, and if one hears the holy name, or if one discusses the scriptures and Krishna's pastimes, then one will remember Krishna. So remembrance of Krishna, Smaranam, does not really come suddenly. It comes from practical application of the other processes also. It will come. Unless one is in a very special category that one didn't really practice the other processes of Shravanam, Kirtanam, including Shravanam, Padasevanam, and so forth, then one may be in a special category where there's like causeless mercy. That at the time of leaving the body, somebody will be there to remind you, you know, and will be there to remind you to be Krishna conscious, although you may not have practiced one or more of those processes, of the 9 processes of devotional service. But by somehow or the other, by some good fortune, causeless mercy, somebody may be there to help you to remember Krishna. And you're open to it at that time, at the time of death. So it's interdependent. In other words, smaranam, remembering Krishna, or remembering devotional service practically in relationship to Krishna, is based on actually practicing Krishna consciousness, which is called sadhana bhakti, devotional service and practice. I hope that is fine for now. All right.
Advaita Krishna
somebody,
Prabhu has a question.
okay, tell him to come onto the screen, Advaita Krishna Prabhu, please come.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
All right, please, my Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Tell me.
Maharaj, regarding enthusiasm, I just want to understand somebody in Krishna consciousness, but in a negative way, like somebody is he's like an opportunist or overstepping. So how do we understand or address those situations?
Good question. Yes. Now, when we leave the material world and come to understand that Krishna consciousness is the best thing for us, one also comes with the baggage of one's karma. With that. See? So sadhana bhakti or devotional service and practice indicates that there's a transitional stage when one leaves the material world and transitions into like Krishna consciousness activities. But when one engages in Krishna conscious activities, one still has the remnants of one's material desires, but it is dovetailed in Krishna related activities. So within the material desires, which is dovetailed in Krishna related activities, one may have, for example, the desire to get initiated. See? So in order to get initiated, one will enthusiastically follow the rules and regulations because one wants to be recommended by one's either service authority, ashram authority, or spiritual authority to get initiated. So the person's desire is not really to, you could say in one sense, advance in Krishna consciousness. The person's desire is sort of a niyamagraha situation, which we discussed in the earlier text in text number 2. So the person's desire means that he's very enthusiastic to follow the 4 regulative principles and very enthusiastic to engage in devotional service to actually please one's ashram authority, service authority, or spiritual authority. But however, one is enthusiastically doing that just to get initiated. Or even one may be enthusiastic doing that just to get second initiated. See? So after the initiation ceremony is over, then one will find that oneself is not so enthusiastic to continue in Krishna consciousness. Because the goal was to just get initiated. And we're going to discuss that in text number 5 of what actual initiation is when we come to that text. So I'm just giving this example prior now, for now. Another example can be given is that, one sees that those who are in positions of devotional service, like say, for example, a temple president, or a head pujari, or a life membership director, or a vice president, or an initiating guru, or a GBC member. These are positions of devotional service. But if one is engaged in devotion service enthusiastically to get that one or more of those positions, then what happens? Like, for example, if one is enthusiastically engaging in devotional service to internally or subtly aspire to become an initiating guru, what happens? So Krishna knows that. And Krishna may even fulfill your desire to become an initiating guru. But then when you do become an initiating guru and accept disciples, then the real actual purification begins for you as an initiating guru. It's not so easy, to accept the reactions of disciples who are not following properly after initiation. And you have to deal with so many problems and issues of disciples were just initiated, but not for the sake of making spiritual advancement. So it's not so easy. One particular devotee was a really close friend of mine. He had the desire that I should just become a temple president and run the temple, properly more than how they're running the other temples. But when his desire was fulfilled by the local GBC to have his own temple, he came back to me. He said, I'm becoming purified for this desire to be fulfilled. It's not so easy. It's not so easy. So sometimes in one enthusiasm, one may look forward to take responsibility, but not accept responsibility that is given to them. And one can really become purified in that service. So after one is purified in the service of, say, an initiating guru or a temple president, then one settles further in that service and tries to take more responsibility for it, rather than, one's desires fulfilled because of the facility or because of the worship or because of the followers and so on and so forth. So one has to be careful for these things. And that comes with one's desires, on the basis of transitioning from the material nature into the spiritual nature. Like, for example, one may be an MBA, like a master of business administration. Yeah. And then one comes to devotional service. So in devotional service, when somebody knows that you're an MBA and you was an influential person in your company, so the service authority, may engage you in services like beyond your experience of being a devotee yet. See? Oh, no, he's an MBA, he is a topper in his college, So let's engage him in some things where he may have to deal with, in terms of management and administration, with devotees who are more experienced and more realized than him in devotional service. See? But he enthusiastically goes because I'm an MBA. But when he deals with devotees who are like, say, 20 years in the movement with his MBA, and he's just like 5 years in the movement, like that, then he runs into difficulties. Because there's a difference in dealing with devotees on a voluntary basis and in working in a company where you can hire and fire. It's very different. So in his enthusiasm, he entered the service as somebody who was like an authority of management. But actually, he runs into difficulties and he becomes quite purified quite quickly. So we should be careful. I'm just giving these several examples. I'm not sure whether I'm actually answering your question, but I'm giving these several examples of coming enthusiastically, and then one's enthusiasm wanes, or it loses it, but still one has to continue to do the service. Advaita Krishna, is there something else in relation to this? It's an important subject.
Right. It answers to a great extent. one more thing which is coming to my mind after hearing all these examples, 2, 3 were very nice, like the MBA going to the temple, these are perfect examples. Uh, uh, Another aspect to it is how does one understand those situations and address an issue like that if somebody behaves or takes advantage of a situation.
Yes. See? So, Srila Prabhupada had one very, advanced disciple. He's late now, but he's a legend in ISKCON. His name is His Holiness Bhakti Brhat Swami, our Bhakti Vedanta Institute, head at that time. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada was, speaking to, at that time, I don't know if he was a sannyasi, but his name was Swarup Damodar Prabhu, before he became sannyasi Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami. So Swarup Damodar Prabhu at that time, not being a sannyasi, he could see that Srila Prabhupada was like, going through a lot of anxiety and stress to manage this ISKCON Krishna consciousness movement. Like that. So he asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes I know when I'm with you, other devotees come into the room, and then you have to deal with this problem where a sannyasi is weak in his spiritual vows, where a GBC member is having difficulty with temple presidents, and the temple presidents got together and talking about the GBC member, like leading devotees who are managing the movement. And then he said, Srila Prabhupada, but I see that when you come in the morning and give the Srimad Bhagavatam class, it's as if, these challenges and problems and difficulties with your leaders in the movement and with other devotees and so forth. I see that you perfectly sit in the Vyasasana and you just came from your room, about one problem, but you just sit there and you perfectly speak about the absolute truth, speak about Krishna. Not like moved by these problems at all. Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada said something like, I am always in anxiety. But still Srila Prabhupada gives a perfect Srimad Bhagavatam class and not an Easter Gospel, in that sense, relating to the problems like that. Then Swarup Damodar Prabhu, that time told Srila Prabhupada, how do you go on? How do you go on dealing with this issue, that leader, this leader, that zone? How do you go on? There's so many problems that you deal with. And Srila Prabhupada said, problems? I don't see any problems. See? I just see all this as service to my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that's a bit of a high-level consciousness of Srila Prabhupada, but we can follow. We can follow. Like I said, in a spiritual organization in the material world, Srila Prabhupada said, very, very, very difficult proposition. So if there's like an underlying situation, and even if, like say for myself, Bhakti Brhat Bhagavata Swami, even if I am the problem to somebody else, see, then I have to tolerate, I have to tolerate that this devotee is seeing me as a problem, and maybe I am a problem, but I have to tolerate myself to say that, okay, I should still go on to see it as service to the disciplic succession. Service to disciplic succession. So that came to my consciousness now to respond to your question. Is that all right, or?
Yes, Maharaj. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maharaj. That was nice.
Any other Any other questions in relation to enthusiasm?
No, Maharaj, that's all.
All right. So let's put slide number 43 onto the screen. That was Utsaha na Nishchaya. Nishchaya, the second item. So Nishchayat, Srila Prabhupada says in paragraph 8, which means endeavoring with confidence. Number 1, the devotee thinks Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. Then in number 2, Srila Prabhupada tells us in paragraph 13, engagement in devotional service of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and supreme perfection of human life. One has to become confident about this, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruit of work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Very nice. Very nice. You can put me onto the screen. Yes. Now, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. We should come to that point of faith. See? In other words, if one is enthusiastic, then one can be confident. From Utsahan comes confidence. And even if your enthusiasm is no more there, that means you may lose confidence. You may lose confidence. So it's very, very important in confidence that one should have that faith, firm faith, that Krishna will protect me and always help me to be successful in my execution of devotional service. See? But that successful execution of devotional service is not based on result. It's based on enthusiasm to still continue. To still continue. So we'll give you an example that is related to this. This kind of faith, it's a very important thing that how Krishna will always protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada received the instruction from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 1922 that you are an educated young man, why don't you go to the West and spread this Krishna consciousness, which is the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English-speaking language, in 1922. Without even asking Srila Prabhupada, what is your name? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He just saw that and he said that. So Srila Prabhupada only came to the Western world in 1965. How many years? 43 years. First receiving the instruction in 1922, and then 43 years later, in 1965, 1966, he executed that instruction. So one disciple, asked Srila Prabhupada, why didn't you come earlier? You received its instruction in 1922, but you only came in 1965. If you had come earlier, more people would have been saved by Krishna consciousness. So then Srila Prabhupada humbly replied that the spiritual master's instruction may be suspended, but never ever neglected. He always kept that instruction. He suspended it because he felt he couldn't execute it at that time, but he never ever neglected it. He eventually fulfilled that instruction in 1965. But that is called confidence. Confidence. And that is also related to patience, which is the next one. You know, Daryat, being patient. But this confidence must come from enthusiasm. That, so much difficulties Srila Prabhupada had in India, especially in those 43 years, practically. So much difficulty. And Srila Prabhupada even begged, as as Abhay Charana Ravinda Prabhu that time. He even begged, very cultured aristocratic Brahmin families. And he said, look, you have 4 sons. Can you give me 1 son? I'll make him a genuine Brahmana, besides being born in a Brahmin family. And we can help spread, bhakti or Krishna consciousness. But they all refused. They all refused. Even in Jhansi, when Srila Prabhupada wanted to start his League of Devotees first, before starting ISKCON, the owners of that property was influenced by the wife. And she said, no, this is for a women's club. We cannot give it to you. But Srila Prabhupada never lost his enthusiasm because he was confident that Krishna will protect me and give me the necessary help to fulfill the order of my spiritual master. So that is a very important aspect for us also. That when we kind of lose enthusiasm, we may lose confidence. And losing confidence means that we can lose faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. So I'll give another practical example. We go out to preach. We go out to distribute books and so forth. See? Now one may lose enthusiasm, if he goes out the whole day and he's trying to distribute books for like 4 or 5 hours on the street or even door to door, but nobody is taking a book. Nobody is taking a book. One may lose enthusiasm. And one may even lose confidence. Does this process work now? Nobody's taking a book. See? Or one may be preaching to that family for 5 years, but they're still eating meat. They're not even chanting Hare Krishna. They're not interested, but one is persisting, but there's no result. See? So how to maintain one's enthusiasm in that sense, where you don't see any result? We should not be attached to the results of our preaching. We should come to the point of having faith. The very fact I am preaching to somebody to become a devotee, and the very fact that I'm trying to distribute books but maybe no result of how many books we distribute. We should have the faith that the activity itself of attempting to distribute books and the activity itself of preaching to others without any result pleases Krishna. That means one is engaged in devotional service without attachment for the result. Then one will maintain one's enthusiasm. But be rest assured, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna, that Krishna will protect my enthusiasm and help me, and he will give some result to continue to protect my enthusiasm. He will give, and we know Krishna will give some result. But the result is not as important as being steadily engaged or being fixed in the same service and not giving it up because of no result. So that is called confidence, which comes from maintaining one's enthusiasm in devotional service. All right. Any questions? Nishchaya, endeavoring with confidence, which is also related to the next one, Daryat, being patient. So, but any questions for now?
No, Maharaj. So far, no.
All right. So let's put on slide number 44, which is the third item for the favorable execution of pure devotional service. Daryat, being patient. And in paragraph 8, Srila Prabhupada tells us, one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. In other words, you have to have patience and confidence to continue in Krishna consciousness. It requires that, those qualities of patience and confidence. Okay. So now, patience is related to confidence, and confidence is related to enthusiasm. If one is enthusiastic, then one will be confident. And if one is confident, then one will be patient. Utsaha, nishchayat, daryat. They are interrelated. See? So confidence means that if you are successful, then you will, if confidence means rather that if you know that you will be successful in the end, then you'll be automatically patient. You know, the end will be that Krishna will be pleased. The end will be that I will go back home, back to God. But if you are in anxiety about being successful, why am I not successful? Then you'll be impatient. You'll be impatient because you don't know whether you'll be successful or not. See? So confidence means to know that by our sincere endeavor, and by Krishna's mercy, we will be successful. So Krishna wants us to be successful. That's no doubt about that. But Krishna is more anxious than us. Because for every step you take towards Krishna, in a way, Krishna takes many, many steps, at least 10 or more steps towards you. So that patience should be there. That patience should be there. In the Nectar of Devotion series of classes, we gave the example of the Chataka bird. Chataka bird. Now the Chataka bird is called a thunderbird. The Chataka bird gets very, very happy when thunder comes. Because the Chataka bird knows that when the thunder comes, it flies just below the thunder cloud and it knows the rain will drop. The Chataka bird will not take water from the ground. It only takes water by keeping its beak open just beneath the rain cloud. Just beneath the rain cloud. See? So this rain cloud is the color of Krishna. It is like Krishna. And the Chataka bird is like the devotee. So even if the rain cloud does not give any drops of rain, drops of water, and it just gives thunder and lightning, it will not frighten the Chataka bird still to go and take water from the ground. Rather, the Chataka bird will tolerate the thunder and lightning, although no water or raindrops are coming from the cloud. And it patiently waits for those drops of water to come from the thunder cloud, like the cloud of Krishna. So similarly, although we may have so much endeavors put into our devotional services, but still, Krishna's mercy we are awaiting. We cannot demand or command Krishna to give our mercy, despite of our efforts in practicing Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we are confident that Krishna will bestow his mercy. And therefore, we have to be patient, even if Krishna's mercy doesn't come in time on our terms. Utsaha, enthusiastic, leads to confidence, and confidence leads to patience. So patience is dependent on nishchaya. Dharyat is dependent on nishchaya. Patience is dependent on confidence. And confidence depends on always being enthusiastic. That's a very important aspect. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example of patience about the newly married wife who was desiring offspring. Very beautifully given. And this is given to us in paragraph number 8. And I'd like to read it. It's so nice. See? In the paragraph begins with, these activities must be executed with patience. And I'm going down practically halfway in that paragraph. And I'm reading. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. Everyone has found it in your purport, but I'll read on if you don't have the book. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that a child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. A devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence, which is in relation to what I've discussed with the patient. So the newly married wife, she's patient. It may take some time to give birth to a child, but she's confident in the end that she will receive a child and she will become a mother. So similarly, in due course of time, we should be confident and patient in relationship to Krishna consciousness. That Krishna Prema will come. Love for Krishna will come. In other words, by its own sweet will. But we should continue our efforts and endeavors in practicing Krishna consciousness. Any questions on Dharya, being patient?
No question yet, Maharaj.
All right, so we move to now slide number 45. Put it onto the screen. So we covered utsahan, enthusiasm, nishchayat, confidence, dharyat, patience, and now in the screen, tat tat karma pravartanat, which means acting according to regulated principles. And in paragraph 9, Srila Prabhupada says, in this Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. In addition to these 4 prohibitions, yama, there are positive regulative principles, niyama, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on japa mala beads. These regulative principles must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat tat karma pravartana, or varied engagement in devotional service. So we can see from what I've just read that Srila Prabhupada is connecting all of it, including following the regulative principles, to enthusiasm, to utsaha. See? In other words, these regulative principles must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the book quickly in relation to this. There was something that was not in my notes, but it just came to me now. Okay. We are going to go to paragraph 15, and there is a verse from Bhagavad Gita. You can easily find the paragraph. Again in Bhagavad Gita 240, Krishna says, you found it? It's in your purport. It's paragraph 15. So I'm reading it. Nehi bikramana sosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. In the translation, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Now, in the next paragraph, devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. Sometimes a person will give up his ordinary material engagements and out of sentiment take shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and thus begin the preliminary execution of devotional service. Even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes the prescribed duties according to his varna and ashram, but does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is ahutaki apratihata. It is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause or permanently curtailed by any material interruption. Therefore, a devotee should be confident about his engagement and should not be very interested in the activities of the karmis, jnanis, and yogis. Now, why have I read this? Utsaha nishchayat, confidence leading to dharyat, patience. And this patience also leads to tat karma pravartana. So here Srila Prabhupada uses the term fallen devotee. So one can ask the question, how can a devotee be fallen? But Prabhupada uses the term. So tat karma pravartana, which I just put on the screen earlier on, it means that in this Krishna consciousness movement, one should follow the four regulative principles and chant minimum 16 rounds on Japa Mala or the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra daily. Prabhupada says that is called tat karma pravartana. But here Prabhupada says that even if one is not able to do that, even being initiated but is not practicing that, one is considered a fallen devotee. See? But one still must not lose one's confidence that one will continue in this life or in the next life from where one has stopped in one's Krishna consciousness. That is not lost. Beautifully, that is not lost. So therefore, Krishna consciousness benefit or Krishna consciousness practices that gives you the benefit is to your eternal credit, even if you fall from the practices of devotional service, which is tat karma pravartana. It's such a magnanimous process. You don't lose anything, even if you lose it temporarily by sort of taking a leave of absence from practicing sadhana bhakti or devotional service. All right? So any questions on tat karma pravartana?
There's a question from a devotee named Uk Wing Cheong.
Come onto the screen. Prabhu Fung Wing Sham. I cannot see your face. Can you give us your darshan? You have to go to something that says wood video, audio wood video. Ah, nice. I've seen you. in the Nectar of Devotion also. Thank you very much. So, Fung Wang, tell us your question. You have to come, you have to, audio, we cannot hear audio. You have to unmute your audio. Can't hear you.
You can speak now,
Yes,
Prabhu.
yes,
Okay, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
yes.
What's your question?
My almost humble greeting to you, Maharaj. Actually, I want to ask something, but I think you have given me the answer on the verse Bhagavad Gita 240. I was thinking that because of this enthusiasm, confidence, and patience, even how we endeavor, there is a certain degree of anxiety also. So because of such anxiety may probably will make us blunder in the devotional service. So just want to get clear how to overcome these circumstances. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So when one temporarily leaves, the practices of Krishna consciousness by not following the regular principles and chanting 116 rounds minimum of japa daily, it's called like a temporary leave of absence. But one can try to avoid that. And avoidance of that means one should try to associate with devotees as much as possible. See? So therefore it's very important, despite a temporary leave of absence, it's temporary, it won't be all the time. If one can come back to Krishna consciousness would be nice in the association of devotees.
See. So is it the degree of anxiety will go off if we had such association with the devotee?
When you associate with devotees, you may decrease your material anxiety, but you may receive spiritual anxiety in the association of devotees.
What is
So
that spiritual anxiety?
I'll tell you what that means. It means that Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a mango that's connected to the tree still. So the mango in its formative stages on the tree, if one prematurely cuts that mango and tastes it, it tastes bitter. But the mango, when it receives sunlight and it receives water through the roots of the tree, will come to bitter sour, sour sweet, and then sweet. See? So similarly, one may associate with devotees in the beginning stages who are like sort of bitter to associate with. Or one may associate with a devotee that's in a very advanced stage, like the sweet mango. But whether the mango is in its beginning stages, the bitter stage, or whether it is in its sweetened stage, both are considered mangoes, provided that mango is still connected to the tree by receiving the sunlight of the association of devotees and by receiving the water through the roots of the tree, which means watering the root of our devotional kripa by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So long as one is receiving the sunlight of the association of devotees and not go to the non-devotees, which is the darkness of ignorance. And one is receiving, the mercy of Krishna by actually chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Japa. Then one will, just like the mango, mature from bitter to sour sweet, and to sweet. But if one comes in the association of devotees, and one is also in the beginning stages, and if one associates with another devotee who's in the beginning stages, so it's bitter mango associating with another bitter mango, and that may bring some anxiety. That may bring some anxiety. So therefore, that anxiety is there because one will increase one's level of tolerance by applying voluntary force internally. So no matter how challenging, or how problematic, or how difficult it is to associate with devotees, it is still better to associate with the devotee, even if he's fallen. Like Prabhupada used was fallen devotee, than to associate with the perfect non-devotee who will not be able to help you at the time of death. Even the fallen devotee or a beginning devotee will tell you, Prabhu, you're leaving now, please chant Hare Krishna, please chant Hare Krishna. But the perfect non-devotee will give you more anxiety of taking birth again in the material world. Is that okay, Feng Wang?
That's very helpful. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. So this is very important. Somehow or the other, even if we are not inclined to associate with devotees, it may be very troublesome, but try your best to still be with devotees. Somehow or the other, that will help us, even if it's not to our liking. Good. So let's get to the next one, if there's no more questions on this point for now. Slide number 46. So Utsaha Nishaya Daryat Tat Karma Pravatanat. Now Sangatyagat, which indicates abandoning the association of non-devotees. But that we also had in text number 2. In text number 2, it was clear there that we should not associate with non-devotees also. Abandoning, the word abandoning means very heavy. Give up. Don't be attached to associating with non-devotees. But it indicates the positive aspect when we discussed yesterday, asat sanga tyaga, asat sanga, that means non-permanent association of non-devotees. So here it is the positive indication when we say sat sanga tyaga, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And the positive indication I'm giving you here, which is in paragraph 10. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has recommended Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanavas. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas, the 6 Goswamis. If one lives in the association of devotees, there's little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So this is given to us here in paragraph 10. That Sangha Tyagat means the positive side of associating with devotees, and especially associating with devotees whom you feel are more advanced than you based on relationship and faith. There may be advanced devotees, but you may be inclined to associate with the advanced devotees because of relationship and faith. So that's very, very important. And this is, leading on from Tat Karma Pravatana, that in order to follow the regulative principles and chant minimum 16 rounds, one has to abandon the association of non-devotees and positively keep in the association of devotees, which will help us to continue with enthusiasm, confidence, and patience, follow the 4 regulative principles, and to chant minimum of 16 rounds of japa daily on beats. So that is Sangatyagat. Any questions about this nice 5th principle of favorability for executing pure devotional service? Sangatyagat. That is, we have covered a lot of discussion on associating with non-devotees and devotees even in the previous text. So this is in keeping with that. Anyone?
A devotee named Manjari Pal has raised the hand. Hare Krishna, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Nitya Saki.
Nitya Saki, tell me your question.
Maharaj,
I can hear you. Tell me.
hear me?
Yes.
Maharaj, you were telling about still associating with the devotees and not associate with the non-devotees. But the devotees, when they put you in anxiety and put you in problem, what should we do about that? You know, how we should take care of ourselves, because when we associate with that people, we cause offenses then. So uh, how to stay away, or how to come out of this?
Okay, nice practical question. The association of devotees is like taking a feast. Now, according to Gaudiya Vaishnav culture, in relation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also in relation to Prabhupada. So, Nitya Saki, right? Ask the question, yes. When we take a feast, which preparation we taste first? Which preparation we take?
Pavaka.
According to how Srila Prabhupada used to, we take the bitter preparations. See? The bitter preparation. In other words, like Karela, or in in Malaysia, the Tamil, pavaka, right? Bitter melon. So we take that first, the bitter melon, Karela or pavaka. Why do we do that? Because when we take the bitter preparation first, it mixes with the juices in the mouth, with the saliva juices, and it prepares you to taste next the sour preparations. Of course, rice and chapati is a staple thing on the side. So from the sour preparations, you'll taste the like fried preparations. And in the end, you'll only take the sweet. See? But if you're taking a feast and you go immediately take the sweet, it will taste sweet. But if you taste bitter, sour, fried, and other tastes of the prasadam, and when you take the sweet in the end, that sweet will taste even sweeter still because of the comparative taste in your mouth. It'll taste sweeter still. So similarly, the association of devotees is like taking a feast. There'll be as devotees that you'll associate with that are bitter to associate with. That's clear. See? There'll be devotees that you associated that will be like polite and friendly, but not close. There'll be other devotees that you associated that will be very sweet to associate with based on relationship and faith. So the flavors of associating with devotees indicates that devotees are of different natures according to relationship and faith, which we're going to discuss even more elaborately in text number 5, how to associate with devotees on the platform of a Madhya Madhikari. It's like taking a feast. Okay? So I'll give one more example. Just one more example in relation to your question for now, which we're going to cover in later text. But yeah. Say, for example, you don't know who's an advanced devotee and not advanced. You don't know that. You may not know. Because association of devotees is based on faith and relationship. So if you're associating with devotees that are not favorable to you and you're not favorable to them, they are still devotees, but they're like Karela, tasting bitter melon. But you may keep a respectful distance. But sometimes what Krishna does, in order to feel the sweetness of devotees, Krishna may send a devotee your way that is like Kerala, like bitter melon, or like some sour mango chutney or something, But when you take some chutney or some acha that is like even burning, like it is like, what do you call it? Like chili, you still like it. Just as you like Kerala, you'll still like it. So we have to learn to like different flavors of how we take prasadam, because the sweetness will come even sweeter still. So Krishna may arrange like that for you to tolerate the association of devotees, to actually relish the sweetness of devotees in that sense. So it's a very important principle. So I'm going to give you one more example. And that is that you may not understand the mind and heart of devotees. And it's like associating, with a sadhu who you don't know and he doesn't know that is very advanced. So sometimes the sadhu who is very advanced, is like a bee. Now the bee, produces honey. And the pure honey is in this beehive. It's in a tree. See? See? And you know that in order to get the honey in its purest state, you have to go to that beehive. But along the way, you will be stung by the bees. See? So if you tolerate the stinging of the bees, you will get to the nectar of the honey. Oh yes, you'll get to the nectar of the honey. See? Because it doesn't bother you to be stung, because you want that nectar. So a saintly person's heart is like honey, is like tasting honey. But the external behavior sometimes of a saintly person may not be to your liking. He may sting you with some chastisement, like the bee. But if you persist and take the association of such a saintly person, eventually that saintly person will open the sweetness of Krishna consciousness from the honey-like heart that he has. But we have to pay a price. We have to pay a price. That sadhu or that saintly person will have to prepare your consciousness to actually relish that honey, of the pastimes of Lord Krishna that is playing in his heart. So it's the same thing. However, we may not have that kind of realization or be that advanced in one's consciousness in these examples I've given, like taking a feast according to Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, or the sadhu is chastising you and you're thinking, what's wrong with him, You may be interpreting that he may be a bitter mango to associate with, but he may be actually an advanced person. See? So therefore, I'm giving these examples, but still at the same time, for practical sake, sometimes it's nice to keep a respectful distance, but without any animosity in your heart to that particular devotee. With that particular devotee. Yes. There's another example given, which devotees experience in India. It's a nice, perfect example. Is that, the best and the sweetest sugarcane juice is tasted in the heat of the summer. See? And when you get freshly made, squeezed sugarcane juice from the sugarcane with the heat of the summer, that heat makes that sugarcane juice that is freshly squeezed from the sugarcane even more sweeter. See? But when you start drinking sugarcane juice in the heat of the summer, it burns you. It practically almost burns your lips, but you will not refuse to drink it because it is irresistibly sweet. Irresistibly sweet. the heat of the summer adds flavor of sweetness to the sugarcane juice, especially if you drink in the summertime. But you will tolerate the burning. You'll tolerate the burning of the juice onto your lips, and you'll still drink, although it's burning, but you'll still drink because it is so irresistibly sweet. See? So sometimes the association of devotees is like that. It may be like, I can't, it's too much for me. It's like I'm burning, but still it can be irresistibly sweet by its own flavor. All right, so we have some minutes. I'll continue with slides 47 and complete the discussion for this text number 3. Put slide 47 onto the screen. This is the final item within these items of favorability for executing pure devotional service. Sattva vritti, and it's connected to other discussions we had before. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Prabhupada says in paragraph 11, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. That's not necessarily for devotees living in the ashram. It's for anyone because everyone is in the Krishna consciousness movement. So I'll read again. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. and attend Mangal Aarti or morning worship. Then read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform Kirtan, and so forth. Thus, we hold continuous activities in devotional service 24 hours daily. This is called Sattva vritti, or following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. You can put me back onto the screen. In earlier discussions with questions asked by devotees, we made this point that somehow or the other on a normal regular day, except for emergencies or poor health and so forth, it's good to take rest early, which is the secret, to rise early at that time, as suggested, what is meant by Sattva vritti, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, is to have a reasonably good morning program, sadhana, which is not the 24 hours of the day, it's just for several hours in the morning, if one can. But at least one should, follow the most essential instruction of the spiritual master, to try to chant as a maximum number of rounds, if not all 16, in the morning before one starts one's day. So that means early to bed, means early to rise. So that's what's recommended here in terms of Sattva vritti. Any questions? We have about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll conclude.
Sita Thakurani Mataji has a question.
Okay, Sita, come onto the screen, Sita Thakurani.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, how can we develop relationship with the holy name as a devotee?
Nice question. Put me back onto the screen. We can develop relationship with the holy name on the basis of 3 things. There may be more, but for now, just to answer your question practically. One is we should try to hear when we chant, especially when japa. And that's the positive side, to be attentive and hear the holy name. The second thing is that when we are attentive, then it is easy for us to get the potency to avoid, breaking one of the 10 offenses to the holy name, one or more. In other words, we'll avoid offenses. That's number 2. Okay? So number 2, when we avoid offenses in relation to chanting the holy name, then we will look forward to the positive association of devotees, because we'll become free from offenses. See? But the most important aspect, which is not really a number in and of itself, I gave you three things. To be attentive, hear the holy name when you chant, avoid the offenses, and then by avoiding the offenses, you'll actually have in your heart in relation to the positive association of devotees. But the most important aspect is that we'll have a feeling in the heart that I do not deserve this, that I have no adhikar to actually chant, but still I desire to chant. And in that aspect, you will feel also when you do that, when you chant the holy name. It is not that you chant the holy name to become humble, but when the holy name is chanted in that consciousness of feeling, I don't deserve to chant the holy name. I don't deserve, not that you give up chanting, no, not in that sense, but I'm not qualified for this, but still I want to chant. So when you do that, then one will relish the association of devotees, of feeling that, everyone is tolerating me, and still they're keeping me in their association by that consciousness of chanting the holy name. In fact, I don't even deserve the association of devotees, and one will come to that realization. So that humility in terms of Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Api Sahisnana Amanena Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari will actually descend by Krishna's mercy of what is called Kirtaniya Sadahari. Then one will have no, you could say, obstacles or reason not to chant the holy name always. So that is the most important thing. This is just like an overview of, there's many aspects to this discussion of chanting the holy name, especially japa, but I just gave a brief overview. All right, we'll conclude with slide number 48 in the screen. Slide number 48. In conclusion to text number 3, this is from paragraph 12. If one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being patient, at least being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, and following the regulated principles and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. That means it is guaranteed just by following what I've just read as a conclusion to this. One is sure to advance in devotional service. All right, we look forward to your nice association again tomorrow, same time. Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vranda ki,
Jai.
Nectar of instruction ki,
Jai.
Shri Upadeshamrita ki,
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Hari
Hari Hari Bo.